Winchester. Hello, WinCam. Hello, everyone tuning in. This is Visual Radio, and Stephen Lee Beeber is my guest tonight. I do want to say the views and opinions on Visual Radio, those of the host, his guest, and not necessarily those of Winchester Community Access and Media, its staff, board of directors, members, and our affiliate stations like Winthrop, where you were before.
Yeah, that was a nice setup you had there, but I like this better.
The Winthrop is an old Christian Science church that they renovated. They took out the organ. I wish they left the organ in, but can't have everything.
Yeah, you can't.
We spoke where the organ was.
I wanted organ accompaniment. I remember I wanted someone there.
I would have played if you. I could have done. You could have been the Phantom.
Exactly. Toccata and fugue.
Those churches, when they close them down, those organs must be worth a fortune. I can't see wrecking them.
No, I don't understand it. I don't understand why they don't just keep organs everywhere. Always have an organ. Every place needs an organ. And
especially when they're already built.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, don't destroy that stuff. That stuff's great. You know the Fox Theater in Atlanta?
No.
It's a beautiful old movie house. And AT&T built a building next door. This is a long time ago now, 70s. And they were going to tear it down to put up a parking lot. And the city just was up in arms over it. But it's got, I think, the largest existing theater organ in the country. That's from the old days, but still there. And they use it. They'll have silent films sometimes, and it's great.
Don't call the police, call Joni Mitchell. They paved paradise,
exactly.
Put up a parking lot.
That's right.
So speaking of the Christian Science Church, on the front page of the Globe today, now this pains me. High rise next to Christian Science site. What happened to my glasses? They were carrying them around, but you can see what they're up to.
No, they're building there. I know that. They had a lot of plans for...
Now this summer I had a couple of dear friends come up. They'd been on the show, and my friend Jeff and I went and met some friends of ours, Sharon and another Jeff. All my friends are named Jeff.
Makes it easy.
So we're at the Christian Science Center in the swimming pool. The kids are in the pool with the parents, and it's a real lovely day, and it's nice. They got to preserve those pools because they're historical.
Right.
So I have no idea how they're going to build this next Prudential Center next to the Prudential.
I don't know. So this is not Christian Science is building this, because I know they were going to do some building there as well, I thought.
I think that they own it.
They're just selling the property.
I don't even know if they're selling it. They're developing it. They're probably the landlords.
Okay.
Don't know. So can I ask you personally, you were teaching. Can we ask about that?
Sure.
What
I don't
do
think
you teach?
there's anything top secret. Bomb making at home for your own...
That's kind of like the Globe has marijuana making with spearmint.
Yeah.
They teach how to grow marijuana with spearmint.
That's nice. You want fresh breath when you toke.
I mean, it's a good article right next to the Christian Science Church, which doesn't believe in drugs, and how to make your own drugs at home. It's a nice, fair, and balanced newspaper.
Right. I think that's exactly. Fair and balanced, like Fox. And I don't know what they're smoking at Fox. But no, really what I was teaching is a creative nonfiction class, creative writing, creative nonfiction. So I teach that. I also teach a creative writing class, fiction, and a couple of literature classes, Introduction to Lit.
So let me ask, if a creative writing course is basically considered to be fiction, creative writing, so when you call it creative
nonfiction, the joke is it's just, learning how to lie very well and cover your tracks, but that's not what it is. No, obviously not what it is.
Creative nonfiction. I'm the next president of the United States. I'm a human being, and Barack Obama's going to leave at some point, and
You can imagine that, sure. Make it real, visualize it. No, but the creative nonfiction.
I host a TV show. Why can't I run the country?
If an actor could do it, why not a host?
We can go there. I'd love to go there.
Yeah.
Every time they say Reagan, I think B actor.
B was pushing it. I don't think he really even deserved the B actor status. Although he's very good as playing a president, pretending to be presidential and caring about the American people.
I don't denigrate him in any way when I say this, but the guy had Alzheimer's during the presidency, I
Yeah.
truly believe.
Yeah.
So he wasn't even acting at that point.
No,
He was
it's
the.
a shame. Yeah. I mean, I
It
don't
was a
like
shame.
Reagan. I'm no fan, but I wouldn't wish that on anyone. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe he was better off when he wasn't knowing what he was doing, but his henchmen were just as bad. So,
Well, the henchman was the whole point.
yeah.
The henchman, you needed someone,
Right.
the Republican Party needed someone that wasn't Nixon.
Right.
Hey, this guy knows how to look at a camera.
Right. Right.
I mean, I wish Barack Obama, I really love Obama, I wish he would just like look into the camera.
Should I be looking into the camera? Or I'm looking at you because I figure you're
Yeah.
the most exciting thing here. I'm not chopped liver, but I don't know the whole rules at TV. You should tell me. Should I be looking?
Oh,
here?
you're experienced. You were visualized years ago. Do you realize we've had like 800 shows now?
Wow.
I've lost count. I mean, we lost count around 500.
And you're only having me back now? You've had
You-
800 opportunities to have me back, or you mean 800 total?
No, we've had over 1,000 guests.
Oh,
but,
okay.
Because we were too busy interviewing Robert Zemeckis and Jodie Foster to have you back.
Well, they're always kind of trying to steal my limelight, and I'm getting a little tired of it, but I understand.
The door is open, and in fact, because you live in the area, if you're enjoying yourself tonight, when I have other guests, feel free to come in, and I'll keep you posted on who's coming in, and you can hang out and be part of the show. You know?
Yeah, I'll be like Ed McMahon.
Well, like I said before, I want David Bieber here. I've been trying to bring. David's a dear friend.
Yeah,
I can't get David
right.
Bieber and Stephen Bieber together, and Justin,
Oh, Justin.
your son, your long lost son.
Yeah, punk.
He's not in this book.
No, he's not. But he lives in Atlanta, where I'm from. And my parents get calls regularly because their name is in the phone book for, tween-age girls.
Yeah, but it's not BEI.
No, I know. Well, they're tweens, They don't think about spelling. Looks like Bieber, sounds like Bieber. What the hell? And they call, and there's Justin there. And my mom will say, I'm sorry, you have the wrong number. If my father answers, he says, he just stepped out. I'm sorry, you just missed him.
Oh, that's funny.
Right.
That's
But
great.
It's great. I keep telling my dad, though, it's so far so good, but you should really say, he just stepped out, but if you send us $25 cash.
We'll send you a photo.
Yeah, but send the photo too, and we'll sign the photo for you and send it back, So self-addressed stamped envelope. Yeah, but he hasn't taken us up on it yet, or taken me up on it yet.
Now, my third guest, a famous rock star, a dear friend of mine, passed away 2 years ago, but this afternoon I met with his daughter. And he had changed his name. And it's interesting, she has the changed name because he just wanted to keep it out of the phone books so people weren't looking under another initial.
Right.
And we were talking about the whole fame thing, and she said growing up, everyone would say, your father, and this great story about her father. And she goes, hey, what about me? Everything
Right.
was about, but it's.
Right.
And when Gilbert Gottfried was here, we talked about fame, and he says, where is a person on the fame level?
I guess that's always the question. You're trying to jockey for position.
On the
I'm
fame
not
level.
famous. I don't put myself.
Well, where is this on the list of CBGB's books?
Ah, well, the book is better than I am. The book is okay. I joke, and it's not even really a joke because it came out since I last saw you. It was last year in Germany in translation.
Oh, you
So now
must love it.
I'm big. I'm relatively big in Germany. I joke, like big in Japan. You know that expression?
Yeah.
I'm big in the other Axis power. So, they love me. I got a column now. I'm even, I'm the Jew punk in a local anarchist collective newspaper.
So do you write it in English and they write it in German?
Yes. Yeah, I write in English. They translate it. I have no idea how I'm really coming off because it's supposed to be kind of funny. At least I make it hopefully funny.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
It's a whole new world with the internet. The whole thing has changed.
Well, I was in Germany for a while. It's kind of how it happened. I was over there. And
Writing?
I was writing. I was doing some appearances.
About the book?
About the book, yeah. And I ended up living there for a while and just, kind of taking in the city. It's an amazing city. That's
Berlin.
one of those, yeah, Berlin. You're right, yeah. One of those
By the
places
wall.
you have to go before it changes. It's already changing. Like Prague at one time was a real expat spot. It was really inexpensive and lots of activity there. And then it got gentrified like everywhere else. And Berlin is starting to go that direction, but still really a great spot with lots of excitement, lots of artists, lots of bars that stay open all night.
Let's find a sponsor
Never
with
close.
billions of dollars and open up a decadent section of Berlin.
I
just
think
to
they're
stay
ahead of
decadent.
you. I
Okay.
think they're ahead of you with decadence.
So that they have the old.
I think they're
because,
pretty good at that.
You know,
Yeah.
and I like my Dunkin' Donuts tea. We have no affiliation with Dunkin'.
No,
I
okay.
just bought it.
All right, I thought maybe sponsorship.
No,
but-
no. But I'm going to say I don't want to see McDonald's and Dunkin' Donuts in Berlin and in
No.
Taiwan.
No, you don't. I don't blame
Because
you.
this is our culture.
Right.
Don't taint that culture. It's this
Right.
pollinating. Now, see, this works nicely in Berlin because rock and roll in Berlin and Paris and London and New York, it's the synergy.
Sure.
It's okay. It fits.
Absolutely. And they're interested in large part too because of the Jewish aspect of the book and the how I talk about punk indirectly was an outgrowth of the Holocaust, especially that early punk from New York. That
You
was
think
really,
so?
Yeah, I do. And in fact, I'm not the only one now. I thought I was crazy at first, and when I shopped the book around, people were thinking I was crazy, and they would ask. The publisher I ended up going with wanted to see more, a couple of sample chapters, and I started doing more and more interviews, and it's sort of like follow the money, and it just went deeper and deeper. But there's a guy, a couple of academic in Australia, of all places, who writes about the similar
Australia, not
issue.
Austria, which is close to
Yeah,
Germany.
it would make more sense, right? But he writes about it in terms of the English scene, which I also have in the book. And there are a couple of others. So it's gaining currency, and it's not obvious until you see it, and then you kind of go, well, of course. I mean, these people that created punk were, large numbers of them were Jewish, and those who weren't grew up in New York around Jewish people in the similar neighborhoods. The rest were mostly Italians, and Jews and Italians grew up in neighboring areas because they
Jew
came
and
around the same
Italian.
time. Yeah, exactly. We should start a band.
Really, it'd be the
Yeah.
Jews and Italians.
That's right.
Okay. Goldie Zelkowitz, Genya Raven.
Ganusha.
So Genya, calls me and says, the book. So there was I said, here's what I want you to do for the book, Genya. And just as a dear friend that's known her since 1980, we met in Florida at the Muse Expo, and we've been friends ever since. And I said, Genya, I love you, and I've written all these reviews of you on allmusic.com. I mean, I've really covered Genya well on AMG.
Right.
I don't know if you've ever read that site.
I do. Yeah, it's a good site. Very good
So
site.
I got 10 years after,
Okay.
10-wheel drive.
Oh, yeah.
I keep confusing the two, but I
Yeah,
cover
right.
them both.
Right.
It's Bluesheimer's. So
Blue-
Goldie,
Bluesheimer's, I like
Goldie's
that.
doing this book.
Yeah.
And I said, Goldie, I love you, but you're not a household name.
Right.
You're a great rock and roll story, but this story is about surviving the Holocaust,
Right.
surviving cancer.
That's right.
And the music is there too. She touches upon it, but if I were involved, of course she got it out. She's a Holocaust survivor. She's one of the few still alive, probably, right? I mean, how many?
Well,
we're in that.
Yeah, they're getting older. There's a great picture.
It's like the Titanic.
I don't
It's
know
not
if you
as-
can see it here with
Yeah.
the, but
It's not like the Titanic. I'm thinking the Titanic people are dying away, but the Holocaust, we're older. I mean, I was born after it, and I'm pushing 60. So,
Right. No, they're definitely starting to get where the people are disappearing. She was, you probably know the story, but her family escaped from Poland, fearing for their lives. I mean, the Nazis were there, and Genya told me a story about one almost being smothered to death by her mother because she was a little girl, and the Nazis were going by, and the mother had to keep her quiet, and just barely was able to let her, breathe in time, and that would happen, not regularly, but it happened
kids had died?
enough that there are lots of stories like that. The kids were smothered to death for that reason, inadvertently. And another story she told me about the family was crossing a train trestle, and her father was holding to the train trestle, with her holding onto him and saying, we're all going to die. I can't hold on any longer. Which obviously didn't happen, but she was definitely, I wouldn't say traumatized, but her parents were traumatized. And they wouldn't let her go out of the house when she was in the Lower East Side. They moved to the Lower East Side in New York, and she was rebelling against them in large part when she set off on that rock and roll life, going out with bikers, everything that was wrong, everything that was not what they wanted, because they had so sheltered her and kept her scared of the world.
Well, she asked me to find someone to co-write with her, and I found someone, and then the fellow didn't, because he's so ultra-Catholic, there was some things in the book that, she goes, you got to be kidding me, and we're all friends, and she loves the guy, but it's like, she goes, you got to be kidding me. My life is about, and then she started, and, it's a book, and it's like,
Right.
some people get so religious that, I can't write about this.
Oh, well, she's got her view. I mean, I don't see why he couldn't have told her story.
People, I know. People just, so she got it. Hey, God bless her, she got it out.
Yeah.
She is not wearing clothes in the cover.
No. I think she was known for appearing without clothes in public.
I asked her not to use this photo, and I still think.
Oh, yeah.
And I love you, Genya. I'm just, saying a new book. This is the unedited galleys.
Okay.
But I think a new version of the book, I think she needs to go in that direction of the Holocaust and all the family members she can talk to.
Right.
All the photos, all the memories.
Yeah.
Because people want this puzzle, the fabric of it to be put out in print. I think there's a need for it.
She famously produced the Dead Boys.
Of course. Yeah. Sonic Reducer.
Yeah, exactly. And they were fond of wearing Nazi paraphernalia. And she was their producer and told them she would not start anything until they fucking, I'm sorry.
Now I got to edit.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Now I got to edit, yeah.
Until they took off the jewelry. And they did it. And she was still is tough.
So she didn't want the jewelry, but the friend that I had want to co-author, he was ultra-Catholic. It's the same thing.
Oh, sure. I don't think a lot of people like the Nazis. I don't think you have to be Jewish to not like the Nazis.
No, but I understand the whole punk thing, so it's kind of like, it's like, okay, whatever,
Yeah. Well, in my book, I talk about how it's more complicated than just shocking the public. It's a lot of it is dealing with those issues around being oppressed indirectly by Nazis. These kids growing up hearing about their parents' and grandparents' generation being victimized and being on the losing end, and mocking the Nazis, sort of Mel Brooks, Springtime for Hitler kind of thing, and robbing them of their power. Because if you listen to Ramon songs like Today Your Love, Tomorrow the World, they make them out to be ridiculous. Nazi Shotzi.
Hogan's Heroes.
Yeah, Hogan's Heroes. I just wish Hogan's Heroes was funnier. But it's the same idea.
For the day, it was funny.
Yeah. And Colonel Klink, of course, was a Jewish guy, the actor.
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
Werner Klemperer.
Werner Klemperer, right. Who's also in Judgment at Nuremberg. Who's a scary Nazi in Judgment at Nuremberg. So.
Whoa, that's the revenge.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an interesting thing. So what are the roots of punk other than repression? I think punk really needed to. Today, kids are kind of like the outside looking in.
Right.
When they do punk, do they do it as authentic as the Sex Pistols?
Well, there's all kinds of punk.
And were the Sex Pistols really authentic?
Yeah,
or were they Milli Vanilli?
Well, I don't, it depends what you mean by authentic. Malcolm
It was
McLaren.
Johnny Rotten, and he was authentic.
Yeah.
I liked his voice. It worked.
A lot of people dislike Malcolm McLaren for business practices, but his contribution to that band was huge. He initially wanted a band of New York Jews. That's what he had been in New York, managing the New York Dolls.
Is that in here?
Yes. Okay. A whole chapter on Malcolm. He was a fascinating character. Unfortunately passed since then.
When did we lose him?
2 years ago?
I think I remember seeing something.
Yeah, it's a shame. I really enjoyed I interviewed him in Paris, which gave me an excuse to go to Paris, and we spent 3 days together.
Did you get it on camera or just audio?
Yeah, just audio. Yeah, it's a shame. But he was telling me how that, he had been in New York working with the dying New York Dolls and had seen Richard Hell, Richard Myers, and Sylvain from the New York Dolls is Sylvain Mizrahi. He's a cousin of Isaac Mizrahi, Egyptian Jews, and wanted a band that had that New York Jewish vibe. And he asked both of them to come and be in a band in England, and they turned him down.
Sylvain?
He said, yeah, Sylvain.
I love Sylvain.
Oh yeah, no, he's amazing. He's a funny guy.
And an amazing artist. His solo record is brilliant.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no.
It's kind of like Joey Mullen from Badfinger. I know I'm digressing, but Joey Mullen's solo records are just absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and Sylvain, I don't know if it's criminal or if it's good. He was at the Abbey Lounge when I was working on the book. I went to see him there, and I'm like, the Abbey Lounge in Somerville? And, this guy's from the New York Dolls. But, a lot of people talk about they wish they could still play small clubs, so maybe it's a blessing that they never made it so big that they're, in arena stadiums. And
I saw Andy Chernoff at the Rosebud.
I saw Andy Chernoff at the Rosebud. I saw you seeing Andy Chernoff at the Rosebud. You forgot.
No, did we talk to each other?
Maybe we didn't actually talk. I was there, though.
We might not have, because I kind of slipped in with the camera and he didn't want it filmed. And I'm like, Andy, I'll give you the tape.
It's dark in there. Maybe you were off in a corner and I didn't actually see you. But
And I had certain things on my agenda that night. Like I think I did the show here, ran over there, and I had like a bunch of things to do.
Right.
But it kind of pains me when they do art and they don't let the video camera roll. And I'm like, I'll hand you the tape. I think it should be preserved.
Yeah, I don't know why. Maybe he figures people pay to see it if you can't see it on film. I don't know. Who knows?
Well, what his excuse was that he hadn't been out enough with it, and I'm like, that's when it's at its best, when it's raw and spontaneous.
Yeah. Oh, he wanted to, right. Well, isn't that why the Rolling Stones refused to release Rock and Roll Circus for 25 years or whatever it was?
No, I think there's another reason. You know that I managed the guy that produced it.
No.
Jimmy Miller.
No, I didn't know you managed
Jewish,
it.
half Jewish man.
That's right.
His father, Bill Miller, was, you know this.
As was Andrew Loog Oldham.
I didn't know that.
I think a lot of people know about Jews on the business side, but that's beyond business. I mean, there's a transition that starts around that time with being managerial and really shaping the looks and the attitudes of the bands. So wait, I'm sorry. Anyway, you were going on. You were saying about
Jimmy Miller.
Jimmy Miller. Yeah.
And we were talking about. I lost my train of thought.
Why it was
the
not
Rolling
released
Stones
for
Rock
so
and Roll
long.
Circus.
Because
Okay.
they're compared to the other acts, they're a little. I don't know. They're the Stones. They're great, but I think they felt that they weren't as on as they could have been. That's what I'd heard.
They weren't as on as they could have been, but I think it's great.
Oh yeah,
It's terrific.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
But here's one of the problems. Jimmy, they were there all day. There was John and Yoko.
Yeah. Right.
There was The Who.
And a lot of drugs.
Jethro Tull.
Right.
Marianne Faithfull.
Right. Right.
By the time they got to the Stones, half the audience had left because it was
Right.
like 10 at night or 2 in the morning or something ridiculous.
Right.
So the Stones didn't have that energy to feed off the audience.
Right.
They should have made it 2 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they didn't. And all things being equal, it took years and years for it to come out. Mm-hmm. And now it's out.
Yeah.
But I had it on Jimmy's promo for years that he had produced, Jethro Tull live and Marianne Faithfull live, and we had an interesting time. Now Jimmy could speak Hebrew
No joke.
because of the religious upbringing,
Was
father's
he-
side.
So he was raised that religiously.
By his father's side, and then his mother was Protestant, so he had like the both. I don't know if it was
Bilingual.
Baptist or what. Yeah, really. But like I can say to you, Pater Noster, qui es in caeli, sanctificate nomen tuum, venia regnum tuum, fiat voluntas tua. It's Latin.
I know it's Latin. That's about it. That's all I know.
Our Father
I can
who
say
art-
amen.
Our Father who
Probably
art in
safe,
heaven.
right? Throw an amen in there somewhere, and I'm probably saying, appropriately responding.
Well, that was the Lord's Prayer, and it's brainwashed in me from before the Vatican II, which made the Masses English.
Right.
But when I was growing up, the Masses were in Latin. So they didn't
Should've
want you to know the Bible. They wanted you to just know this Latin.
It was cool, though. A mass is like a rock show. It's got all the stained glass and the mysterious, words. It's just sounds, and you got the
I'm sorry.
incense. I mean, you had to live through it. For me, it's fun.
It was a boring cult.
All right, I guess so. You're Catholic. I'll let you speak to that.
It was a boring cult that herded you in like sheep.
Yeah.
and did what Jesus didn't want you to do, which was throw money in the basket. That was he was knocking tables over back in the day,
That's right.
and here they are doing what he knocked tables. So it was
Right.
the opposite of Jesus. And so when people get high and mighty with their Catholicism with me, I will write them about what a hypocrite they are and say why, and then my lawyer will call me up and say so-and-so's mad at you, and that's hate speech. And I'm like, I'm a Catholic. Even though I don't go to a Catholic church, I go to a Protestant church. I can say what I want.
You can hate yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
know.
So how can they hate
Right.
speech?
Right.
And it was a cute little poem with forked tongue and perfect diction, under oath and spinning fiction. And the individual I wrote it about is a lawyer, and he got all huffy. This is hate speech. Why? Because I said you lied. Basically, you're a liar or a hypocrite. My client thinks you're a hypocrite. But, I guess I shouldn't be talking about this stuff, but I don't care. A cute little poem. There are people, to quote Gilbert Gottfried, with chainsaws out there, and you don't like my cute little poem?
You're talking to me? I love
No.
your poem.
Thank you.
Them out there, the
I-
masses, they're coming. I hear them
So it's
charging
like,
the door.
I'm afraid of making any Jewish jokes. I'm afraid of
Yeah,
making...
you should be. Yeah, I'll mess you up. No, I'm kidding.
No,
right ahead.
I'm afraid of making Catholic jokes now, and I was born Catholic.
Yeah.
Why can't I?
If you can't make jokes about your own, you're screwed. Because I love making Jewish jokes. I do. I have to admit, even if in good spirit, I don't know that I'm evolved enough that I don't feel slightly weird, like the whole
if I were Jewish, would you say? What if you said a joke and I was offended?
If I said
If you said a Jewish joke
to
and
you
I was
you were
say I was Jewish, say I was Richard
Oh,
Manitoba.
I'd say get over it.
Okay.
Yeah, get over it. What's the
Then
matter?
I should have said that to this holier-than-thou lawyer.
Maybe. If you're Jewish and don't have a sense of humor, then to me you're not Jewish.
Okay.
I don't believe religion has much anything to do with being Jewish. Marx Brothers, they're the prophets. Carl and Groucho. I'm a Marxist.
Oh, Marx Brothers. I thought you were mentioning that lawyer named Mark. Oop.
don't know.
Really, I
I
should
don't
say
know
get
that.
over it. Hate
Which-
speech. No, the fellow
oh.
that wanted to file a criminal complaint
Oh, his name was Marx.
For a little poem. I want to see how far the judge is going to take that. I want to see a judge yell and say, get over it. Anyways, after the threat of a criminal complaint, the next email was
it's good publicity for us.
The next email was, I will...
Spitting all over the place here.
Huh?
I'm seeing my spittle fly.
As long
I
as
don't know
I'm
if the
not.
camera caught it, but I've now let everyone know that it's happening, so it doesn't matter if the camera caught it.
As long as... This was a good train of thought I had now.
No, I'm sorry.
It was a good
Pretend
one.
I'm not here.
No, it is about you, but it was a funny story. If you can't make fun of your own religion, right?
Right.
Then what good is it? Get over it. The judge should say get over it. On to the next subject.
Okay.
The book is out in Germany. Are you going to try to conquer any other countries?
Well, today, Germany, tomorrow, the world is my motto.
It was someone else's motto too, but I'm not going to go there.
I wouldn't mind conquering other parts of the world. I still think Israel is ripe for Jew punk. Seems unnatural. I'm not quite sure how to do it.
Well, let me ask you this.
Do you have any connections there, and you can help me out?
No, but I'm going to ask you this about Germany and then Israel.
Let me be asking you. Yeah, ask me.
We just lost Borders, which is tragic for authors to lose Borders.
I like independent bookstores, though, so I'm okay with that.
All right.
They carry a lot of self-help.
But some of them are going, too.
Yeah, oh yeah. Bookstores are a dying breed, unfortunately.
But you should take a travel through Winchester Center here and see Bookends. Great store.
Okay.
And you should probably do a little reading there. And then
Sure.
there's bestsellers in Medford.
Okay.
So these are independent, and they do have authors come in.
I'm surprised. I think I've heard of Bookends. I've never been there. I've
Bookends
heard
is
of it.
Winchester.
Okay.
Bestsellers, because of some craziness in Medford with the building, they had to evacuate the building for years, and they just, God bless them, they just reopened. Because it was a real nice hot spot for Medford residents to go and have coffee.
Good.
I met with State Rep Carl Shortino. He met me over there. We had coffee. And it's kind of like, oh yeah, meet me at Bestsellers.
Right.
So for a guy like you to come in, I think the Medford people would probably be like, really? Oh, and then you got Bloomberg calling Medford anti-Semitic.
I haven't heard this. What happened?
Mayor Bloomberg comes
I know
from
Mayor
Medford.
Bloomberg. What's his problem with Medford? Oh, he's from Medford?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and he evacuated. He said they were anti-Semites and blah, blah, blah. It's
Really?
in his book. Oh, this came out. This was a big...
I think you're going to find anti-Semites everywhere, unfortunately.
But to have a mayor of New York saying this about his hometown...
Yeah, it's not great publicity.
No, and people were like... Some people are outraged like the mayor, but the mayor of Medford, but... Hey, you know, it's insightful if this powerful man's going to say this. You better listen.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just telling you about
So what the
bookstores.
mayor of Medford should have said is, well, obviously New York is controlled by Jews. You know, just to kind of balance things out.
Okay, so let's
Yeah.
go to Germany. You're in Germany. Are there good independent bookstores?
Yes. Yeah, there are a
Did
lot
you
of...
do readings?
I did. I did readings at bookstores and clubs, a lot of clubs, actually. There's funny, you might remember from the East Village in New York, a record store called Wowsville.
No.
Wasn't too far from CBGB's. This is already, I guess we're talking 80s, 90s. But I'm walking along in this neighborhood in Berlin after a few drinks, and I look up, and I see this sign, Wowsville. I'm like, wow, there used to be a record store called Wowsville, New York. And I go in, and I'm looking at the walls, and there are all these pictures of Joey Ramone and Johnny Thunders. I'm like, wow, they used to have pictures a lot
Same guy?
like this. And then I look behind the bar, and there's a guy, and I look like, wow, that looks just like Alberto. And he's like, hey, I'm Alberto. So yeah, he opened a bar in Berlin. And I think the new East Village is Berlin. So if
Really?
you wanna, yeah.
So that's fun.
Yeah, it was really fun. I did a reading sort of not slideshow, there's no slideshows anymore. What do you call them? PowerPoint. Yeah, but no pointing and no words, just pictures, music, me talking.
Now, you see, if I were Malcolm McDowell, McLaren.
Malcolm McDowell from
Malcolm McLaren.
Clockwork Orange.
It's Bluesheimer, sorry. I was never this bad 10 years ago. It's just drifting.
Hey, you're associative, you know, you're creative.
Thank you.
You're bringing it all together.
That's the professor speaking to me.
Ugh.
If I were your manager and I were Malcolm McLaren,
Yeah.
I would have a translator standing next to you and have like an elder statesman speech. You'd be saying it in English and they saying it in
I like it.
German. And
Yeah.
then you have the public access there and just make it
Right.
like a press conference.
Right. I like that idea. That's great.
It just, like on YouTube, you can just see it. English, German, at the same time.
Right.
Really drive them crazy.
I'm here to drive people crazy. That's what I want to do.
All right, so I have a request for one of your next imprints of this book.
Okay, what's that
As
request?
a fan,
All right.
when you do the Japanese version, which you should probably pursue it.
You're talking about the Jewish American Princess version or the, I'm sorry, it's a stupid joke. Go ahead.
Very bad joke.
Very
Now, see,
bad.
now I'm going to get in
Very,
trouble. Now the
very
crazy
bad.
lawyer is going to
No, you don't say it. I can say it. Yeah.
go after my guests because you're on my show.
I'm just joking.
In the Japanese version
joke.
or
Yes.
the Turkey version, we have a film critic and he was in Turkey with his wife last week. That's why we have no phone here this week. The Turkey version or the Yugoslavia. In the back, have the CD of the Malcolm McLaren interview.
Yeah, you mean the audio of it? I got all kinds of great audio. In fact, I was
Best of.
approached by someone to put it into an archive, and I guess I should think about actually doing that.
Get a sponsor. Don't just give it away. It's hard work. It's
Yeah.
no work.
No,
Your
it
intellectual
would,
property.
I think it would end up in some sort of a university library or something like that. I mean, I have 150, more than 150 people I talk to, and some really revelatory stuff that was never spoken about before. I mean, Tommy Ramone's history, which people in the community, like were there from the beginning, didn't know until he told me, about how he's also a child of Holocaust survivors. Came over when he was 8 from Hungary. From
Is he still with
Budapest.
us?
Yeah, he's a great guy. He's the unsung, or one of the unsung heroes of punk. So much to do with the Ramones. He brought them together. He was the manager originally. He had the idea for how they looked. He was the one who insisted that Joey be in the band and be the lead singer. He said he saw it as kind of a Andy Warhol kind of concept. The whole band.
It is actually.
It is.
I never thought of that.
Oh yeah, it is. And remember the whole thing with the Ramones always was, are they dumb? Are they just stupid? Like it's a joke about being dumb. Because when they first came out, people were like, oh, they're a bunch of thugs, street thugs, these guys who don't know how to play their instruments. but it was all intentional, or was it? You know, I mean, it was even, I don't know for sure. I know for sure on Tommy's end, it was a concept. When it comes to Dee Dee, I don't know. Dee Dee was this weird, I don't know if you're supposed to use the term idiot savant anymore.
I like it.
People know what it means, right? You know what I'm talking about.
Idiot savant is a perfectly good term to use.
Yeah. I mean, Dee Dee was amazingly talented and had a great sense of humor, but he was also very screwy. Had a really mixed up childhood where his father had been an American serviceman in Germany, married a German woman. They had Dee Dee and proceeded to fight constantly. And Dee Dee was beaten by his father, so he kind of hated his father. He would collect Nazi memorabilia just to piss off his father because his father was there fighting the Nazis. So, yeah, he was very torn, but he was maybe bipolar. Everybody in that band was clinical. That's what people always say, and it's true. You know,
Anyone in rock and roll is clinical.
No, I mean they were. I mean Joey was very OCD. That's well documented. That it would take sometimes an hour for him to get into the bus, the van, to go on tour because he had to keep going up and down the steps and touching certain things over and over. So it wasn't just quirky. I mean he eventually got medication, which helped
pathological.
Yeah, and a wonderful person. Everyone says he was a mensch, and all indications he really was. I never got to meet him. He died just before I started doing my research. In fact, I was at the hospital where he died when he died. It was kind of a weird coincidence that if I were more inclined to think these kinds of things, and I do wonder if it was meant to be in a way. Because I was watching the producers, Mel Brooks, the producers, on TV, while my girlfriend at the time's stepfather was having surgery, a nice Jewish guy, in this hospital in New York, Columbia Presbyterian, I think it was, and looking out the window and kept seeing limos pulling up, and thinking, what happened? You know, was there something at the UN? It was near the UN. We thought maybe something had happened. This is, I think, before 9/11. Yeah, right before. So I thought something had happened at the UN. And it turned out there were friends coming to say goodbye to Joey because he was on his deathbed. Well, and some of them made it. I think Debbie Harry was one of the ones who came at the very last day. There were a few people, and some of them were not just punks. I mean, people in the rock community. Eddie Vedder, those kind of guys. So.
Fascinating stuff. So this is important work you're doing, and you've opened up a door. Now, heebie-jeebies, it's not just because it rhymes with CBGBs. Right. What is the purpose?
It's a pun. It's supposed to be obviously Hebes, like Hebrews, which was an offensive term. But that's only part of it.
I see one right over my head, so at least,
Oh, okay.
Michael Bloomberg can't come after me.
Yeah, in fact, my publisher at the last minute wanted me to change the title. They thought it was going to maybe be seen as offensive. So I said,
in all these years, I've known you, 6.5 years, that never
occurred to you.
Never occurred to me.
Okay. Well, the other part of it is heebie-jeebies is this state of like overexcited, like a spilkes is the Yiddish term for it. But, there's a Little Richard song, heebie-jeebies. Woo, he's like sounds like he's going to like jump out of his skin. So that was part of the idea that this was a place where these people with nervous energy that was in part from something kind of disturbing, because the heebie-jeebies also has that connotation like ghost, give you the heebie-jeebies.
Right, got that.
And all of that together was kind of the idea, and then it rhymed, and it was nice.
When you see the cover, and it's the late Joey Ramone, it almost is kind of haunting.
Yeah.
It's almost like, you could take the black and white horror film. I think Joey would really be appreciative.
I hope so. Of the cover, I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he still with us?
No, he died from cancer a few years ago.
They both did, right?
Yeah. In fact, it wasn't the same. Pancreatic for Johnny, and Joey had lymphoma, I think, for years. They're all dead except for Tommy of the originals. Marky's still around, but he wasn't an original.
The late Ben Orzechowski of the Cars. Ben Orr? I was his videographer.
Oh, yeah?
And then he went off with another band and got pancreatic cancer and real quick gone.
Yeah, it's fast. Frank Zappa.
Such a nice man.
Yes. It's one of the bad ones. The guy for the Cars, who's the other? The Brooks, Dave Brooks, the drummer? Is that
David
right?
Robinson.
Deb Robinson, thank you, Robinson. Ernie Brooks. He was originally in the Modern Lovers.
Of course.
Yeah, with Ernie Brooks is who I'm thinking of.
And he was then in DMZ, the Modern Lovers. David Robinson's a real nice man.
Yeah. Ernie Brooks is in a cool band now with Gary Lucas. I don't know if you know him. Was in Captain Beefheart's last incarnation of the band.
No.
Amazing guitarist. Part of the downtown knitting factory scene later, and still just doing great stuff. He has a band called Gods and Monsters with Ernie Brooks, Jerry Harrison from
Talking Heads.
Talking Heads and Modern Lovers, and
they do Don
Jason
Van Vliet
Cameron.
songs.
He has sometimes does just covers of Van Vliet, but mostly it's his stuff. That's a separate band, actually, the Captain Beefheart Project or something like
nice.
that. Yeah.
What a great name, Don Van Vliet. Why would you change it?
Yeah, I know.
It's just such a great rock and roll name.
The only genius in rock and roll. This is, who is it? Now here comes my Alzheimer's.
Bluesheimer's.
Bluesheimer's.
That's Danny Klein,
Oh, yeah?
another Jewish boy.
Oh, I like it. The Bluesheimer's.
Well, Danny Klein of the J. Giles Band, they were
Peter Wolf, the
Peter-
Jewish answer to Mick Jagger.
Peter Blankfeld.
Is his real name?
Blankfeld.
Oh, okay. It's good.
And Peter Wolf's secretary was Mimi Fox. When we did the interview with Peter on WCGY, we had to book it through Mimi Fox. I'm thinking, okay, Wolf, Fox, they just,
Yeah, right. It's a pack of them.
but so with all these interviews you have, okay,
Yeah.
so David Heyman was on my show. He did Bobby and Jackie, about the affair between Bobby Kennedy and Jackie
Okay.
Onassis.
Okay.
And he interviewed a lot of people.
Okay.
The State University of New York has his archives.
Oh, yeah.
Now, he gave all the interview tapes because people, of course, were up in arms in his book suggesting this mad affair.
Mm-hmm.
But he says you can go to the State University of New York and hear my interviews.
Yeah, I really should do it. I was approached a while ago, and I don't know why I never followed up on it. I actually realized now you can get paid for that, so there's an extra incentive. But that's not the reason. That's not
go
the
to
reason.
the Smithsonian.
No, that's
they have
not
a
the
record
reason.
label. Well, it should be the reason.
You're
working
I don't mean the
hard.
money. I wouldn't mind getting a little money out of it.
You're working hard,
Writers work very hard and get compensated very little.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And it's your intellectual property. You went to France.
Yeah.
You got on the plane.
Right. I asked the questions. But with that said, I would love to see them preserved because there's some amazing stuff in there, and I couldn't put everything in the book.
And what you can do, too, for a CD for the book, there's so much stuff. You can grab best ofs and you can actually embellish in a good way, meaning you add your own voice to it and kind of narrate. Here's
a
my
great
interview
idea.
with Malcolm.
Yeah.
This was the date in Paris. It was a wet day. It was a beautiful day. And I remember it, and put your memories in, and then you just play some of the tape. So now you have like an 80-minute documentary in there.
Tell my publisher.
Well, I'm just thinking when
It's
you
money.
get...
I think that's the problem. It's a great idea. I mean, Malcolm
but
Laird
CDs
taught
cost
me what
nothing.
the 5 cassette is. This term 5 cassette in Paris.
I've heard it, but I don't know.
If a woman, an older woman, is in a bar between 5 and 7, 5 cassette, not wearing a wedding ring, or even if she's wearing a wedding ring, I guess, she's there because that's the time you're saying, I'm open to affairs. Like, I'm open to having the equivalent of a mistress for a woman.
Jean-Luc Von Godard.
The French are so much more sophisticated.
And easygoing. It's just like, they're not as hung up on
Right.
with
No.
forked tongue and
Yeah.
perfect diction, under oath and spinning fiction. It doesn't get them all upset,
I think they'd let that slide, yeah.
I mean, it's so inoffensive, but
Yeah.
I mean, your book cover's more egregious than my little poem.
Thank you.
and no one threatened to file a criminal complaint on you.
I want to
know.
be offensive, yeah.
The punchline, here's the punchline I forgot
Okay.
with my Bluesheimer's.
Okay.
He writes my lawyer a letter. He says, I'm not going to sue. I'm going to pray for Joe. So I have prayers coming to me.
We'll see.
Maybe because you wouldn't have gotten anywhere with it. But the bottom line is, it's like the First Amendment, creativity, and you teach creative writing.
That's right.
So now here's my thought to your publishers.
Yeah.
The publishers get a few heebie-jeebies over having to put songs in the back of their book because it costs publishing.
Yeah. Right.
Now, when you're giving audio tape where there's no publishing, it's a CD which costs about 3 cents to manufacture. So I think when you say, hey, look, I want a CD and it's not going to cost you what you'd have to do for the back of the Beatles Undercover book. Great book,
Yeah.
Beatles Undercover.
What's that one? I don't think I know that one.
Chris Engelhardt has this amazing book. He's Mark Fauner's biographer,
Okay.
Grand Funk Railroad.
Okay.
Before he met Mark Fauner through this Beatles Undercover, which is how he met me.
Okay.
And it's a book of all the records that the Beatles played on that weren't their own records.
Oh.
It's brilliant.
Oh,
It
that's a
is a
great-
wonderful book, and there's a CD in back.
I mean, lots of them, right?
Yeah, well, I was the promo guy for Alvin Lee 10 years after.
Oh, yeah.
And he had George Harrison on the record that I promoted. So George Harrison sent me a couple of emails right before he died.
Oh, wow, nice.
You know, it was very cool.
You don't erase those, I hope.
I printed them out, and then my server went down. So I have them printed
You
somewhere
got
in the
the hard
house.
copies, at least.
Somewhere in the house.
Good.
But it was just cute little things like, tell Bobby Hebb I said, hallelujah.
Yeah.
Now, Bobby Hebb, my friend, wrote Sonny.
Oh, great song.
Toured with the Beatles, but his big song was Night Train to Nashville, Hallelujah. But now people wouldn't know that.
Right.
So it was almost code from George Harrison to me to tell Bobby. Isn't that awesome?
That is awesome. You know, I've got an artifact of my own that I'm not letting go. I never was able to interview Lou Reed for the book, unfortunately.
I interviewed Lou.
Oh, well, if you could get me to him, I'd still like to talk to him. Yeah, there's talk of a movie. Can't say much more about a documentary. But Lou, so yeah, Malcolm McLaren gives me this number that he says, this is a Sister Ray production, Lou's office.
Yeah.
Something I know, I'm calling the office, and I call and ring. And this voice says, hello. I'm like, that voice sounds really familiar. I said, hi, is this Sister Ray Productions? Who is this? I said, I'm trying to get it reach Lou Reed through Sister Ray Productions. Don't ever call this number again. I was like, oh, crap. He gave me Lou's direct number. And like, double crap, I didn't have my tape recorder going. Because you legally can record things on the phone. In those days you could. And I always had it running when I called for an interview. So I was like, at least I could have had him on tape. So I said, all right, I waited a few months. And then I clicked it up and I called back like, hello? Who is it? same exact thing. Don't ever call this number again. So I've got it now. Like I want to make up my answering machine message. Lou Reed, don't ever call this number again.
Well, yeah, you got to go through Tom at Sister Ray. Lou had a bunch of different people working in his office. I'll say this now, because I get these dear friends out there that are on this Lou Reed list, and they wanted me to go to New York because they were going to go take pictures of themselves in front of the Sister Ray door. And they went and touched the door like it's this like religious relic, right?
I touch doorknobs of the famous. I have a thing about that, but that's a whole.
You do?
Yeah, I've touched quite a few famous doorknobs.
Okay.
I figure they've touched the doorknob. I'm 1 degree of separation.
I'm a writer, and I write about this man, and I'm granted interviews. I cannot go and touch doorknobs in New York with you people. It's insane, and they stop talking to me, most of them.
I wouldn't talk to you if I heard that.
I mean, I don't want to go to New
How
York
can you
and
not
touch
want to go
doorknobs.
touch doorknobs? You got to
And
go
it's
touch
like-
the doorknobs of the famous. I've touched James Joyce's doorknob. I've touched Nathaniel Hawthorne's doorknob. I've touched Herman Melville's doorknob.
But they're all dead.
Yeah, but they opened the door at some point.
Yeah, but that's good. They're dead. That way they're not going to think you're some stalker.
I touched Mick Jagger's doorknob when he was in New York.
Well, he expects that. He would have probably invited
exactly.
you in.
He would have been offended if I had it. That's how I see it.
Yeah, he would have.
Yeah, he's like, I'm passé. People don't want to touch my doorknob anymore.
But the touchy of the doorknob, I mean, so Lou is to me like this great professor these days. Mm-hmm. And so how long have you been teaching at the schools, speaking of professors?
Well, I'm an adjunct, so I teach in a number of schools. I joke I'm like academic Okie, sharecropper of knowledge. I ride the rails from one place to another.
You go to Suffolk University?
I came from Easton tonight. Suffolk I haven't taught at yet. I haven't taught at. But I was teaching at Stonehill tonight, you might know, as a Catholic.
WSHL Radio.
Good station, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Great students. I really like it there. Teach at Lesley University.
You know Donna Halper?
I know that name.
She's a teacher there. She's one of our guests.
Oh, okay.
Donna's great. She's a radio historian. She's an author.
Okay.
See, I should have you and Donna on.
Sure.
She's Jewish.
Oh,
she
well.
knows a lot of, she's married.
I thought you were going to fix me up.
But she's well versed in many religions. She is just fascinating person, and she writes about radio history. And she was she discovered the band Rush.
About the voice of Geddy Lee? How did it get so high? Do you know why he has named Geddy? His Jewish grandmother, with a very thick European accent, could not say his name, which was Gary. Geddy.
So you're telling me my Jewish friend Donna found another Jewish rock and roller?
There are a lot of Jewish rock and rollers. There are a lot of Jewish performers, but punk was unusual. Punk was really densely Jewish. It's the only rock movement out of New York.
We got to have you back. We've got 5 minutes left.
No.
We got to have you back with other, maybe Willie Loco Alexander.
Oh, yeah.
It was just his birthday like 2 weeks ago, and we should really look at some of the other aspects of punk. Because punk artists like Willie come out and then they do pop songs. Songs that are hardly punk at all. Mm-hmm. But pop didn't mix nicely with punk.
The Ramones, they were amazed that they didn't make it at the time because their songs, for all the edge, they're very pop friendly. You can hum them.
And they even got that big push from Billboard because Seymour Stein worked at Billboard.
Yeah, with the little baseball bat. Say that as a bad promotion campaign. For
No, but
Beat
what
on
I'm
the
saying
Brat,
is-
they had the little baseball bats.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Yeah.
That song is really politically incorrect now, especially at the front page of the Globe.
Yeah, supposedly the story behind that song is Joey would get beaten up a lot, and he transposed it as like beat on another kid, So yeah, he was such a victim. I mean, it was horrible. It doesn't come through in the pictures as much, and I say this. He was a wonderful guy, but everyone say he was sort of freakish looking. He was 6
He was not a
foot,
normal person. Yeah.
6'6", I think. And in high school, he was almost that tall, and he was like 90 pounds. I mean, he was emaciated. He gained weight later, but he still was extremely thin, very pale, and just, got singled out for every bully in town. Beat him up. He was freaky looking.
I got to go backstage to the Ramones at the Orpheum in Boston.
Nice.
Because Willie Loco Alexander opened.
Oh, nice.
It was a nice bill.
Yeah.
But,
My best backstage moment ever, Fox Theater that I was telling you about in Atlanta. First night of Keith Richards' solo tour with the Expensive Winos. And I got to go backstage and hanging around waiting for Keith to show up. Double doors part, it was packed, right? And I'm not the tallest person, so I'm kind of like, and I see these two statuesque models, do we have time? Coming forward, the crowd parting, and suddenly in the middle, there's Keith with his arms up around. He's not that tall a guy. He's about my height, really. And, this is back in the 80s, I guess it was, late 80s. But already people were saying he was like the next death in rock and roll, But he looked pretty good. He was tan, grinning ear to ear.
Well, that's his shtick, too.
That he's like on the death door stand.
Sure, he plays it up.
Sure.
And he sure looks it.
Right.
But he's a great guy.
Right. Just a punchline to the story. Or I think it's a punchline. Anyway, so somebody says, "Can I take your picture?" He says, "Sure, love." And he's already grinning. Camera comes up. They get ready to take it. Puts on a sneer. Most people smile. He's got to have a big sneer.
You got a good picture?
I didn't get a picture. I got his autograph on my ticket, and I wanted to it was better than a doorknob. I sort of grazed his hand and he gave me a look like, "What are you doing?" So I think Keith Richards thinks I hit on him, which is all right.
We're talking to Stephen Lee Beeber, author of The Heebie-Jeebies at CBGB's, which has just come out in Germany. Specken Sie Deutsch? No, I don't, but
9.
when did it come out?
Well, I didn't want to, but it's been out there since 2009.
Now, this was on Thunder's Mouth?
Chicago Review Press, the largest independent book publisher in the country.
Ah, very nice.
Yeah, I wanted to go independent.
Now, are you writing another book?
Yeah, absolutely. I just finished a novel, although I'm going to do a little tweaking of it, so I guess it's not quite ready to send out.
Fiction?
Fiction. It's called About the Author, and it's about someone researching me as an author, like what became of me.
I like it.
They find all my papers in the attic of their apartment.
This is in the year 25,
25, if man is still alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Zager and Evans. They weren't Jewish punks, though.
I hope not. That's not a very good song.
Not a very good song. Read my review of Zager and Evans on AllMusic. It was one of the worst albums. How did they?
I didn't even know there was an album.
There were multiple albums. It's awful. It's dreadful. It's hard to listen to. But your book is easy to read. There's a lot of good stuff. We got 20 seconds left. It's Stephen Lee Beeber, Visual Radio. Thank you, Judy Kellerman, for helping us out with the show tonight. Thank you to Sean O'Brien, WinCam. Views and opinions are ours, not yours, but you can enjoy them. Have a great night, everyone. And next week we might have Kate Genovese of Table Talk or Bob Hildeberg up from Woburn. Thank you, WinCam. Everyone, good night.
Thanks, Joe.